Hey everyone. Tonight, with the open heart. Well, not all of it, just Matt's. uh, we are playing Godkiller by Connie Chang. Uh, Godkiller is a holypunk game for just two. Um, and together we will weave a mythic, violent, transformative tale about a single mortal rising up against the challenges of the divine. My name is Donna. My pronouns are he, him. I'll be running the game as I guess, the God of Gods, which is what the game master is called here. I'm really excited by this game. It looks so cool. It jumped to the top of my list when I started reading it properly. So yeah, really looking forward to what we will get up to over the next few months.
And I'm Madeline Colley, Mads for short, she, they pronouns. Yeah, I've played with Dunna before, and I was excited to see this come up because I seen talk about it descriptors when Connie first put it out, and it wasn't something that I was thinking that I could run, but I mean, like, in terms of playing this seemed like a really awesome challenge, and I can't wait to see how this plays out. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, I guess we should start. We've talked a little bit about the world and safety and kind of a general thoughts about the way we want to play. But I guess we're going to jump in to talk specifically about the God Killer. I guess we've got a few things to decide, like origin, provenance, uh, and the divinity itself. So yeah, Mads, what are you thinking? You know, on top of name and
I'd have
gender
to
and
do
the
that stuff
flaws.
last because I mean,
Yeah.
like, I just haven't figured out like how I want to posit this character yet. But I mean, like, I think for origin, um, I mean, they're all very dramatically loaded. So the nobody, the wronged, the devout, or the godling. Uh, let's do the man. Yeah, hmm. Let's do the nobody. The nobody is here by accident. Your divinity is hidden, strange, and brand new to you. So, yeah, there's some
Yes.
questions here.
Yeah.
Uh,
So the first one is, what humble life are you leaving behind?
so the humble life is of a scribe of sorts. Um, Now, when we're setting uh, this game, I think it was described as like kind of post-apocalyptic, but I mean, like, I imagine it's like we're still thinking kind of epic fantasy kind of thing, like, more of like, what do you think of like the civilization here?
I think um, there's certainly like trappings of high fantasy,
Hmm.
like in the pre-apocalyptic world, kind of baked in some regards. And certainly when we look at the pantheon suggested, there's a lot of that going on. So I think, it makes sense that there are people maybe who believe that this is a phase. If you keep the old works of the old scriptures alive, then um, you'll get through this. So
Hmm. Old beliefs and such. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I'm picturing like the humble life of a scribe, a someone who would be well versed with uh, languages and such, I suppose. Like looking at some of these old texts in like the before times, I suppose. Um, and Yeah, I mean, somebody who was attached to some kind of um, place of learning, but yeah, I mean, like kind of like just lost in the shuffle, I guess. because that leads into the next question: why did you never fit in? Just watching like everyone else just accept what was going on, the drudgery and such of the day to day. So even though it was like a place of learning, maybe the village or whatever beyond was not very built up, and everyone accepted their fate, their just regular purpose, I suppose. I mean, they were fine being the wagoneers. They were fine being the excuse me, the blacksmith or whatever. But um, yeah, just felt like there was something beyond all of that. Um, and then, what are you so get desperate to gain? I guess I guess purpose. For some reason, just thinking that there's something beyond these walls. There's something beyond this place where I'm in. Excuse me.
So, I mean, does this mean that you've lived your life in some kind of rebellion against the conformity that everyone else seems very happy to partake in?
I imagine my my person has just been going along with the usual authorities, I guess, and just doing the usual thing of okay, maybe something but like yeah, as banal as contracts or just scribing the same things day in and day out. Um, and not really going beyond like their what their life has been prescribed, I suppose. Um, and just kind of questioning that, but not really sure of like their own purpose beyond. Well, who do you think you are to question um, going beyond this? And it's like well then why aren't you more ambitious or whatever? Um, yeah, I mean you're just a humble scribe, so you know what's the big deal?
Um, you said, what's going on beyond these walls? Is it like a cloistered life, or is it you see like strangers come through the gates who are obviously living a very different life from you've experienced? What's what do these walls mean to you?
A very prescribed, structured day in, day out. Same thing, I think. It's like there's a particular wake up time and then getting ready to go and do whatever job it is for scribing these documents or illustrating certain things. But I mean, again, it doesn't vary very much. Um, and then when work is done, then of course, like having meals and then going to like my particular living quarters and then not really wanting to do the things that other people do to, I guess, have fun. Like these are not the people that I feel I could talk to about other things. I mean, they don't wonder about what's beyond the walls. They don't wonder beyond what they do day in and day out. And even those that deal with the villagers outside, they are Yeah, I mean, they look at them as, well, that's their job. They do that too. And there's no real sense of anything else, although I feel like there is.
Sure, we will we'll get on this again.
Hmm.
Okay, so you've seen the character keeper. The origin gives you specific triggers for divine, which is like when you awaken your divinity, and also your mortal trigger, which is like how you get rid of your strain, which is kind of like stress slash damage in the game.
Okay.
Um, we want to talk a little bit about your divine power, or will we go through your covenants first? Maybe get a better sense of who this person is.
Yeah, I think going through the covenants
Yeah.
might be good. Yeah.
So you get to pick three.
Okay.
Um, so there's a list. I think it's on like page 19 on the PDF. There is seven available covenants.
Okay.
Um, And then also, obviously, depending on the covenant, you also get to pick one of the gods that we have already set up. So, if you want to, each of those covenants gives you, or sorry, each of those types of covenants gives you a slightly different question. So, for example, if you pick the covenant of worship, the prompt is: you tie to this god, what sacrifice must you regularly offer to show your devotion? Um, so these and the they run the gamut from that to terror and bitterness and grief and lust. So yeah, uh,
Yeah. Now, am I picking from the ones that are already under the gods tab, or are these just
yeah. So if you look at where it says like the covenant with blah, and then that drop down is all the ones that we have like preloaded uh, on the gods tab.
Oh,
Uh,
nice. Okay.
yeah,
Great. Just trying to think of what makes sense. Actually, yeah. I think I know what I'm going to be picking for the first one, but let me just double check the other powers. Um, yeah, I think the first covenant right away, I think. Let me see. Double checking. Okay. I think the first covenant I'm going to pick is tutelage with the voice of the cave. You studied under this god. What mystical part of themselves did they imprint upon you? Um, given that, yeah, I mean, considering the voice of the cave is about illusions, I think it would be interesting to have the mystical part. How do you want to interpret that? I mean, like obviously it's not a power necessarily, but I mean it's something that I've learned under their tutelage. How would you like
yeah.
to?
Um, it could be um, maybe maybe there's a book or some kind of scroll or some kind of body um of documentation at the scriptorium from this god's kind of temple or whatever. Or it could be very direct. So maybe this mystical cave is like why the scriptorium was built here, right? So maybe this god is very, very close to home. Um, and maybe the tutelage is not official. Maybe you've strayed into the catacombs or something like that.
Oh, maybe we can take it literally. Mystical part of themselves did they imprint upon you? Maybe I have they're symbols tattooed on me that I'm trying to read.
Hmm.
Maybe it's like going up, like, up and down my, hold on, tattooed scripts. I can spell. Up and down my left arm. That's what
Um,
that's what I get for
yeah.
straying into the caves. But again, it's like something I feel like it's something that my God killer would do because trying to just break the monotony of the day. So they strayed away from the abbey or whatever we want to call where I was at.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I mean, like wandering into the cave, and it's kind of like a weird, like osmosis, but also a request. So finding the voice of the cave, but then, like, at some point, just getting this tutelage, even though I didn't realize that that's what it was at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I mean, do you think that the God Killer has tattooed themselves, or did the God do it, or did someone
that's
else?
the thing. I mean, like, there was that blank. There was that time that just was not um, a blank in the mind, like a blank space of time where it's like I went in and then I woke up, came out. I mean, time had passed, missed the meal, and had to just go right to sleep. But then realized after waking up that I had pain in my arm, and then realizing that I had all these things written in as tattoos. But I didn't feel anything at the time. And my arms were covered up when I had left the cave. So,
Okay,
let's
nice.
see. Let's see. Do. Trying to see. Terror. Terror is always fun. Um, the Covenant of Terror. You fear this god. What act of providence did you witness them perform? Who? Let's see. Who looks absolutely terrible? Um. Oh wait.
I mean, all of them, right?
Yeah, yeah, all of them really. But let's see. I think maybe with pestilence, the winter rot. Um, Providence. I mean, obviously, good thing, right?
Um,
Good thing. In
I mean,
quotes, sorry.
only if you're from Rhode Island, I think. I mean, divine. So what? Okay, providence, the divine personification of foresight or ordained events. So, yeah, I mean, I guess it's good for you if it's made good for you by your God, right? That's the thing. If you're on the wrong side, or if you don't see things their way, it's doom. But
Right. Um,
I guess the thing is, right, that this act of providence makes you fear them. So
yeah.
even if other people see it as a good thing,
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. I think. I think. I mean, like, I want to parlay this into something where they made things. There was an encroachment. So I feel like they moved in when there was another god, and it doesn't have to necessarily be the one, like the one of the ones that's on this list or whatever. Encroachment that they halted with a look and a laugh. and they blasted it into dry, dusty pieces.
I mean, could this have been the the actual god themselves, or like an army of
An
worshippers who were
army,
coming? Yeah.
an army of worship of the other gods' worshippers. I don't want to say it's like, this particular opposing god had, what is it, decided to, I guess, make a move into the territory or what have you,
Yeah.
and um, this particular god, Pestilence, did not like that whatsoever, and we were able to witness this. Um, because it happened nearby, I think. Yeah.
Um, so do you think the God Killer's reaction is at odds with the rest of the people in this place? Like they view it as like a blessing, a miracle,
Yes,
but
they
it's
they
just
view it as a blessing and a miracle, but I mean, like, the God Killer is what's to stop Pestilence from doing it to us? On a whim, again, with a look and a laugh, they took out this entire army and blew it to pieces. I mean, and that's maybe another reason why. I mean, like, my God Killer's never been one to totally accept um, everything at face value. I mean, it's just been because of all the things that I guess they've scribed. I mean, most people will just do copy, 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 write, 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 and then they've been more, wait, what are we writing? What are we scribing? What are we keeping a history of? What are we holding? This is knowledge, but I mean, is it the truth? I don't know. So, I mean, again, everyone else was looking upon this like with cheers and, you know, glad tidings of, well, we don't have to worry about that God, taking us over. But again, if Pestilence turns their eyes upon us in just that way, that power could blow us to pieces. And finally, let's see. They're dead. Oh, do I go for it or what? I was thinking
go
lust
for
because for funsies.
it.
All right. With whom, though? Let's see. I think I know whom. But let's see. Okay. Let's check their stats here. Yeah, I think with lust with the Lord Basphemel, Hunger of Eden. What foolish thing have I done to make them notice me? Mm, I don't know if they actually answered, but so yeah, let's just go for it. So I think what my God Killer had done at one point was went out to a purported shrine to Lord Basphemel and a naked overnight painted with symbols of beauty to get his attention. Get their attention.
So is this kind of naked vigil
Mm-hmm.
a thing, or is it something you read about in an old tome,
read
or
read about, like, again, like, I'm probably one of the only people, if yeah, one of the few, if not only person, that has actually read through the things that we're actually copying
Mhm.
and saw that, and it was just like there was like a kind of like that feeling of, oh, that's interesting, and kind of like, just why not? It's something different. It's not the same thing every damn day. So yeah, I mean, my Godkiller went out and tried it, and
Mhm.
only you can tell me if they answered in some way or not.
So I guess I'm just trying to understand, is it like, was this like just an experiment, just something to like break up the monotony, or did
Oh
you
yes,
do it
definitely.
with this result in mind? Did you think it would awaken this lust?
Oh no, no, no. That, like, there was like a feeling already when reading about this particular possible ritual
Mhm.
to get Lord Basfamel's attention, and kind of hoping that it would work, but afraid of what would happen if it did. But decided to do it anyway because, yeah, what the hell?
Mhm.
And yeah, so don't know if it worked or not, but she tried it at least once.
So will we just leave this open? Like we don't know what the repercussions or the eventual reaction is yet, but
No,
this covenant has been made and it will be answered, right?
yeah. I mean, maybe it didn't get answered or whatever, and she's like, oh, great. Fell for one of, like, the stupid things that was just written down as rumor, but then who knows?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Do you feel like we can answer this question about your Godkiller's divinity now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, let me just read out the description of what this is. So,
Okay.
you are imbued with divinity, a font of godly magic that flows through your veins, empowering you to accomplish feats beyond the grasp of ordinary mortals. Your origin describes how your divinity manifests, otherwise, the exact definition of your divinity has been left intentionally vague. Um, so I guess here it's really just your divinity is hidden, strange, and brand new to you. So maybe at this point never awakened or only awakened once. Um, what do you think?
Strange, hidden, and brand new. I mean, my first thought, and it always is my first thought when I deal with magic of any sort in any game, is the shaping of reality. But considering some of the things that my Godkiller has seen, I'm just wondering what that could mean. Um,
I mean, is it something tied to kind of scripts or language? Is it like a logos, like the power of ideas made manifest in the world, or
yeah.
like writing something makes it real, or something kind of almost fairy tale-esque?
And it doesn't necessarily have to be written somewhere, perhaps. Maybe it's like something that could be sketched in the air as, like, again, symbols to mean something and cause change in the world. So maybe that's what I mean by shaping reality. I mean, it's not necessarily true if it's only written down, but this strange hidden power could be something that once it is brought out into the light in some way, whether like, somatic way or you know, verbally or something like that, maybe that's the power of it because it's brought into being once the the magic flows, then it's something that can be sketched into or brought into reality by being said. Um, maybe something just slightly left of center because maybe there's specific songs. Maybe there's um, my Godkiller has read all of her life or copied these things, and maybe there's the possibility of there's a music to the reality that I can control, but I only can hear it. I can only change the way it flows and its rhythm when divinity is woken. So
Yeah.
shaping reality through song, if we want to simplify how that works, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, it's not like a music of creation or of godhood that is like there's a harmonics of the universe, or something
Right,
like
right.
this.
Yeah, through harmonic
Um,
pattern. Yeah, we'll call it that. So this way, it's like it doesn't necessarily have to be completely song. It could be something like a beat. It could be something like a rhythm. But any way you shape it, it's like it's
mhm.
something that's outside of what people would know.
Yeah,
Like people have not seen it this way before.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think there are like signs in the culture you're from, like that that makes sense? Like there's bell ringing, or there's choirs, or there's something
Hmm.
there, like maybe not explicitly divine, but like some kind of deep memory of the place you're in, which has these trappings that make sense now that we know that this is your divinity, right?
Yeah. I think maybe maybe not within this particular culture. Maybe like from these books that we've transcribed, brought from other places, and maybe that's what I've seen throughout. I've seen like maybe these strangers come through and then they have these books, these things that they brought that we're copying for whatever reason. Again, nobody really asks, and if I know that if I ask, I get punished. Um, that I've seen through these books and scrolls, and these are patterns that maybe we're not familiar with because again, we don't do this. We don't do it this way. And so, yeah, through rhythm, through music or these harmonic patterns.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm even thinking now that I'm talking about it, I'm even thinking that maybe why did you never fit in? Maybe one of the things that I would do would be I would see these things, like, these signs kind of going through. Different cultures would name it in different ways, like, certain kinds of notation, certain kinds of patterns or beats. And maybe I would actually do them like while I was actually trying to copy them down. And people are like looking at me like I've got five heads because what are you doing? You're just supposed to be copying this stuff. Don't try it. Don't do it. Whatever. And maybe that's what I do in my spare time.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that sounds very cool. Okay. Um, okay, so I think that is more or less everything started, but uh, maybe it's time for a break, and we'll let you think of a name, etc., before we go into the next round of questions.
Absolutely. Okay.
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 Okay. So we got a bunch more questions. Um, for now, we're asking questions about where we kind of flesh out the cradle, so
Okay.
the world that our God Killer lives in.
Okay.
And I guess this will also help us start with our cast of NPCs.
Mhm.
You get to choose a question first on this list. So let me
What page
paste.
is it on?
Oh, sorry, this is on page 34
Okay.
on the PDF.
Scrolling.
So it's in the first session, creating the cradle.
Okay. Creating the cradle. Okay.
I must admit that I had, when I did the first read this, just I assumed this player is going to answer all these questions, but no, it's like an every second one here. So
As a team.
I know.
Okay. By answering a question of their choosing from the list. Okay. Hmm. Who is your closest friend and why can they never truly understand you? Okay. I think this is. I'm trying to decide whether I want to make him a traitor or a bard. I haven't decided. But,
Are
I
you
think.
thinking they're like not someone who lives inside the walls, someone who travels and maybe brings you tidbits or songs?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
thinking. That's why it's easier to see, um, you know, from the outside, is because it's like I have a tie to an outsider of sorts. So, I mean, like, nobody within the walls can I really feel like I'm able to call friend because again, they look at me with eyes of what the hell are you doing? You're like breaking rules, or you're not just doing what you're told and all this kind of stuff. It's like, what's wrong with you? So this person is like, again, like a traitor or a bard of a sort, but maybe is like, the one that one of the ones that brings in these scrolls or these books that are found that we are copying for our own archives. And, just tells me these stories of his journeys and, you know, finds me more interesting than, of course, the denizens of the Scriptorium Abbey or whatever, because everybody else will just do the usual answers, and then I'm actually one who's like, evinces any kind of curiosity about their life outside of just visiting our region. But even though it's like, he's very forthcoming with all of his journeys, and gives me the information, and maybe like, will answer some of my questions. I mean, I don't think he understands why I why it's so hard for me to figure out my purpose. I mean, in a way, he's like the denizens of this region, just does what he does. It's a life, and he feels like he's living it, and it's fine. I mean, and why, if I'm not satisfied with my particular living or my particular circumstances, and then why don't I just leave? And even I can't answer that. It's like, I don't. Maybe I'm waiting for an impetus. Who knows? Um, but any way you shake it, it's you know.
Hmm. Do you have a name for this person?
Let's see. Um, Maybe Tiresias? However you want to spell it
Okay.
out.
Okay. And they're like of an age with our God Killer or like a peer.
Yeah, I'm gonna say like a peer. Maybe a little bit older, but I mean like not by much,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay. Okay. Um, so I should answer another question. Um, hmm, yeah, I mean, I feel like we kind of started to answer this one already.
Hmm.
The first one, what beautiful place in the cradle do you call home, and what about it is broken? Um,
They make themselves. I mean, I don't know if like you're supposed to answer that or not.
yeah,
Sorry.
I mean, but if you got any ideas, I'm happy to work them in.
I mean, I'm
Um,
thinking again, like, this whole thing about the scriptorium abbey type of thing. I
yeah,
mean, maybe it is beautiful. Like maybe it calls itself its bastion of learning or knowledge or whatever, but I mean like it's just broken because again, people make it out like it's perfect, but it's not because people are just accepting of doing the same thing day in, day out and don't question, you know, what they're getting in terms of knowledge. Like no seekers from the Scriptorium Abbey. It's more like, we're just a repository,
mhm, yeah.
you know?
Let's do we call it like the cloister or something like that?
You could. I
Yeah,
have,
because I
yeah,
think this gives a sense of the isolation, um, not just from the rest of the world through the walls, but like maybe of their original purpose, right? Nobody
hmm,
knows why you're doing this,
yeah,
really. I mean, not that you've ever seen.
right,
Um, it's like empty knowledge, you know what I mean?
right,
Uh,
right,
there's no connection or no real purpose to it.
yeah. Which
Uh,
probably weighs more heavily on my Godkiller, even more. It's like, well, what's
yeah,
the point?
and like I think, like you said, I think you said this earlier. Like when you ask why, you get punished, right? It's like, don't you have any faith in the institutions or whatever it is, right? Don't you have any
Yeah,
faith in your elders? And it's like they don't say it, but of course the elders know what they're doing,
of
right?
course. Yeah, I mean, like people are accepting of this is the way it's been, and this is the way it's always
Yeah,
been. Why change any of it? It's like,
yeah.
yeah. And it's probably very beautiful. I mean, like, imagining like there are people again, there are these not interns, what am I trying to say? um there's these oh god.
So is it like like beauty in like the halls of learning, the manuscripts, the
Yeah, I mean it's like it's just like it's kept pristine in a way that's very very set and sterile. But again, there's like, there's people for this.
mm,
And it's like, we deal with the outside in terms of just the village beyond that kind of take care of some of our more mundane needs or whatever. Um, but the inside of this place is very clean and just again, that's very beautiful. But I mean, like, who's really appreciating the serenity? you know?
Okay.
And then maybe we even have, I even pictured there's like a viewing point, like there's a tower that
Could we call
it's a
it an
very
ivory tower, right?
well, I mean, it is. It's like it's kind of a place where we can kind of survey what's going on, which is why we were able to see what pestilence had done to that encroaching army. Um, and this is like, our way of saying it's like, well, we can still survey the world beyond, and that's enough. That's all we need. We have a view. We have a view of how perhaps even the gods survey the world, and that's kind of like their little secret joy. But again, it's not impressive when you can see power being used frivolously, I guess.
I put that smack bang in the center of the cradle on
Nice.
the kind of map.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's kind of what I thought when I saw that particular image. I was like,
okay,
yeah, that's what they,
that fits.
yeah, it totally fits. Absolutely.
Okay.
Let's see. Who is the local heretic and how are they humiliated and punished every day? Hmm. I have to figure out a name, but I've pictured this person as they hail themselves as a prophet of sorts. They are rather beggarly looking. They are humiliated for some of the things that they say, and like, jeers from some of the villagers, maybe um, some of the I don't want to say brothers or sisters or anything like that, but I mean, like, maybe that's kind of like the weird hierarchy we have around here. But anyway, yeah, some of the people that are within the cloister, like, they will also make fun of this poor person, and this person wanders around the edges of the cloister outside of our walls and will spout every so often during the day something that sounds prophetic. But as they try to get into more of it, like maybe they start off with a descriptor. It's like, like on the seventh day of the whatever month or what have you, something's going to happen, but then it turns into gibberish. Like we can see them talking, but it's almost like it's being dubbed over by sounds instead of things that and a different language, and people make fun of them, which is terrible. But for some reason, it's like, maybe one jeer, one insult, and then they move on with their day. It's kind of like some kind of like prescribed ritual almost. And I seem to be the only one that notices it.
You mean like something that they are doing is the ritual, or something that like everyone who jeers them is the ritual?
It's both. Like
Yeah.
like at like, at a certain point of the day, it's like they're going to do this thing, and then somebody, maybe it's a different person each day, who knows, but I mean, like one jeer, one insult, and then people go on with their day, and then this person continues going around the cloister, and yeah, I think I've even tried to speak to them, and it still happens, and the jeer and the insult happen, and then again just continues on. And that's where the pattern is it's starting to be noticed. It's like, what is going on? So
So so how does it feel like humiliation or punishment then? If they seem to be like a, I don't know, like a willing participant in it, or is that part of what seems so strange to you?
They seem to be willing. It's they don't fight back. They don't defend themselves. And sometimes the jeer and the insult is accompanied by like the throwing of some kind of like fruit or egg or something like that,
Mm.
which is a waste. But I mean, it as long as it happens on the outside of the cloister walls, nobody cares.
Okay.
And then
Um,
maybe the
s-
next maybe the next week they're back again. So it's maybe a weekly thing.
hmm. Um, so I think we need to figure out what god rules your home and what must you tie to them in exchange. Um, do we think this could be the voice of the cave, or maybe there's some other god who is more obviously worshipped here in the cloister?
Hmm. Trying to think of who would be. Um, Sorry, just looking. Do we think it makes sense for the, I don't know, the mage eater maybe? Grand feats of sorcery.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if there's something like maybe for us as players, it makes sense to have this machine that like consumes all of this knowledge from all over the world, really
Mm,
feeding this mysterious god, right?
maybe.
Who posits actual sorcery. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Um, so is there I have some idea for but let me know what you think. I think maybe it'd be something like, I don't know, like a well that you shout a secret that you've learned down
Yeah.
into, or
Oh, I
or
love that.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, for the mage eater, it's not necessarily a grand piece of sorcery, but a secret. A secret can be a piece of sorcery in itself, I think, maybe. But how often and how much?
I mean, do you think when you shout the secret down, like you forget it? Is that
Ooh, even worse.
so? Maybe it is. Maybe the period is not prescribed. You can do it as often as you want,
Hmm.
but like maybe there's a sense that the more and the greater the secrets you give it, the better for you.
Hmm. I mean, this just like brings up like just another mystery for my Godkiller because it's like
Yeah.
have people been giving so many secrets? It's like this is why they don't care to ask any questions because they don't have any questions to answer.
Uh, I mean that's really interesting. Like if you shout a secret down, do you forget it or does everyone forget it? Like
Ooh,
that's
oh my
I don't
God,
know.
that yeah,
That's
that's
dark.
wow, that's real dark. Holy
Yeah.
shit. Oh man, but that's a mystery in itself. It's like would she leave for that? That's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And final question to you.
Oh man, what group of mortals or monsters threatens your home and what god do they serve? Hmm. Would this be the impetus for me to leave? Is this, you think?
Um, yeah, I mean, it certainly could be, but I guess maybe everyone here would understand or would trust that pestilence will save the cloister as they did before, but you have no
Right.
faith in
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And maybe you do, but you don't want to witness it.
Yeah. Because, I mean, it's just too easy for the look and the laugh to turn towards us. Um, threatens your home. Let's see. Oh, that makes so much sense. Little slaughter.
So is this an army or like a just a band of vagabonds or
I
something
think it's
monstrous?
I think it's monstrous because these are creatures that they're like a swarm, but like not as actually no. Let's call it like something like a swarm at least for this. Um, because it's just as easy to have things that will come in, not infest. What am I trying to say? Kind of like how locusts will come in and like and feed, but I mean like in this case these little things are will tear and rend.
So like I don't know, like giant hornets
Kind of
or
like, yeah, sting to paralyze and then consume, like rip at their prey, I think. And maybe we're getting the advance notice of it from the travelers that have come in with their um, recent finds, and this is the call to see about who will to defend or evacuate. Like maybe this is the call for people to get the hell out, you know, and maybe certain people in authority aren't listening and just say no because pestilence will take care of it. Pestilence took care of it before. Why not? Um, do we want to switch Mage Eater to Pestilence? I guess maybe. I don't know. Um, for the
um
for who rules the home.
I mean I kind of like the connection we have with the secrets and the mage eater, right?
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Um
So
and
maybe it's.
maybe this is some kind of turf war between the two gods over the
Oh yeah.
cloister, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. I like that. But anyway, I mean, like I'm thinking that this is like the impetus for people to leave.
Yeah.
There's word that Little Slaughter is coming through, or their minions, their little awful minions, and they're swarming the countryside, and it's time to go. Like evacuate, even for a little while, until the season of the slaughter is over, and then you can come back. But maybe there are people that are just like, No, 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 we're not gonna do this.
Mm.
We're
Yeah.
not gonna leave.
Okay. So, um, I think we've done all of our setup for the cradle. So what we should do next is kill our first god.
Okay.
So it says, time for the two of us to decide which god does the Godkiller kill first. Um, I like what makes sense given this charge situation. You know, um, I mean, there's like some really nice questions here, like how does the God Killer figure out or stumble into that god's heart and downfall? Um, remember, you're the first mortal to ever slay a god, so you probably won't go into this expecting that this is the outcome.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. Um, do you feel like you stumble upon Little Slaughter in your evacuation or your flight, or do you think you stumble upon Pestilence or the Mage Eater, like hacking your stuff or trying to, find one of your friends or, something to do with the evacuation?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways that this could go, and I'm not sure which one I'm gonna take out. That's funny. Um, oh man, so many decisions. I mean, I can imagine, like, paying heed to the fact that Little Slaughter is coming, and then maybe um, something happens where I think because I'm trying to avoid pestilence, maybe it's like, I get turned around in a bad way and I run into Little Slaughter. Somehow I find their heart. Um, like I stumble upon some place where they've already started. They don't have to start necessarily big. They just have to um, start somewhere. And maybe the swarm isn't large. Maybe it's little bits and pieces here and there, little groups. And they've already started working on maybe not the village that surrounds the cloister, but maybe like one that's right outside. And again, I get turned around and I find the heart, and maybe I also see somehow what is um, its hidden center for its downfall.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the way you described, right? I think you see this, strange figure overseeing the swarm kind of tear into this village, and probably not people you cared for or had any real connection with, but still like human agony is just here on display, and the kind of, I don't know, like pleasure that you see pulsate in Little Slaughter at this agony is, incredible. This kind of, you see like the reality shimmer. This figure now looks like just teeth, um, just teeth everywhere, just teeth, not a body, just this um, cruel kind of form. Um, And then, yeah, I think you get a glimpse of their downfall because I think they are in control of this situation in a way, and they're like at the cusp of this perfect moment of their godhood that you can kind of see through uh, this illusion that they have. Um, what do you think that hidden heart looks like for their downfall? Um, is it like Little Slaughter's hidden heart, like some part of it that doesn't like what it's become, or do you think it's some kind of vestige of hope or some other feeling other than agony that one of its victims still holds on to in this moment?
I think for some reason it's like I'm thinking of like, Hellraiser. um, I think it's a person that shifts and changes out of the pulsating shape of teeth, all sorts of teeth, monster teeth, human teeth, um, monster, yeah, whatever. Um, and it turns into a figure that seems to have pulsing flesh covered over by some kind of robes, um, and then all of the usual um, features are just teeth. So eyes are teeth, nose is teeth, and then like a mouth full of teeth. Um, and I think they kind of like just look at themselves in wonder, as they're standing there and just like made flesh, made form, not just about the pain, not just about the agony. It's about like, living through this pulsating being. Yeah. So they actually have some sort of corporeal form in this.
Okay. So what do you think? Like what do we see the Godkiller do in this moment, witnessing this this hidden heart?
I mean, they don't they don't want to. I mean, they fear pestilence more. I think seeing this thing like come alive and be again made flesh, like it's human sized. I think she will find maybe some kind of sharp stick or something. Um, Maybe she has a walking stick of a sort, and maybe she's going to just. Is she aware that this is the cause of the swarm?
Um, I think you have to, right? I think it makes sense. Uh, what I guess what else could it be? I think it's an maybe it's intuition on some level, or maybe it's obvious to someone who has read all the stories,
That's
you
true.
know.
Yeah, how it manifests. I think that's the thing that creeps them out the most. It's like, reading about it is one thing. Like actually reading about it and actually seeing it and wanting to do something about it but not. But there's no escape. I mean, I think the swarm is all about right now. And, I can sort of see in the distance like other bits, like other groups of swarms that are advancing upon, you know, other places and getting nearer to the village as well as the cloister and feeling like if I don't do this now, they'll get to everyone else. Worst comes to worst, just try. This is different. So, yeah, I think they'll take, their walking stick, and then they will like try to sneak up on them and plunge it into them from behind. Yeah,
Mm. Um, I think we should roll the dice.
absolutely. Sure,
Um,
why not,
yeah.
right? Doing something
So
incredibly stupid.
yeah. So in the Crucible moves, there's a move called Kill a God.
Okay,
When you confront a god in their true form and exploit their downfall to kill them, describe how you slay them and roll 2d6.
okay. Yeah, so that's
So
basically what she's gonna
yeah,
try and do.
yeah.
She's gonna try to sneak up on them and do this thing. That is a 7.
Okay. So on a hit 7 to 9, they see something vital from you as well. Name what vital part of yourself you lose.
Oh boy. Uh, um, hmm. Vital. I mean, is that temporary or is that permanent?
Uh, I mean, I think it is permanent unless we figure out how you can get it back, right?
Right. Right.
Uh,
I think okay, so I think as my God killer, still haven't really figured out a name. Like, grasps the walking stick and sneaks up on them as best as they can. I mean, the buzzing of the swarm itself is like, just kind of distracting. And will like the first hand is the right hand that guides, and then the push is the left. And I think as the God Killer plunges into Little Slaughter, I think this pulsing flesh eats at her hand, but the hand is not necessarily chewed up, but she feels like it is. Like the hand is fine, but I mean it's just this numbing, piercing, poking, needling feeling of being chewed up, as she tries to hold it there and make sure that Little Slaughter is dead. Um, so I think like feeling in her right hand, if unless you want to say her right hand's gone. I mean that's up to you. But yeah,
yeah, so I mean, permanent pins and needles,
yeah,
maybe maybe you said your right hand.
yeah,
I mean, if it's your dominant hand, then maybe you find yourself like no longer to write as beautifully as you once could, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean I can
Um,
see it being done, but I can't feel it. Right?
yeah.
Sure.
Um, and I think, maybe something like that flashes through your mind as you plunge this walking stick through its part, like the type of wood or something. Like, oh, of course this works because this is ash or rowan or whatever it is the story
Yes.
goes.
Sure.
Um, and what do we think like what happens to the swarm? Does it like just disperse now that it's out of control, or does it almost disintegrate into dust like it was all just a manifestation of the god itself?
I think I think the pulsing stops, the buzzing silences. And I think we hear the patter of all these things, these supercharged bugs of the swarm like just drop like rain, but then like the rain disappears. They're pulverized as soon as they hit the ground. And it's like they never were, but yeah, I mean, like, I look at my hand, I mean, I can see it flexing, I can make it flex, but like just this continual feeling of being chewed up or like
Yeah.
pins and needles.
Maybe it's something like when you like make a fist to almost squeeze out those pins and needles, like you hear
Yeah,
that buzzing in your mind.
yeah.
Um, okay. So, so congratulations. You have killed your first god. Um, you now take its power. So it should work. Oh, yeah, it does work. Maybe it's just a lookup that's not doing its job.
I'm just copying from the
Okay.
I mean that's right. Yeah, right. It's like
Yeah,
it's from
that's
the
right.
power.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Um, so so this is a power that you now have access to, kind of in addition to your divinity, although there are downsides to using this god's power,
Right.
as you might expect. Um,
I think because she feels it in her fist and feels the buzzing, I think she's terrified because she feels that she saw that and it just seems horrific. Um, I don't know if she even knows that that's what happened, that she has a part of that now. So we'll see.
okay. Um, yeah, yeah. Maybe it'll only become apparent when you first call on it, right? But it's definitely it's disorientating when you feel that buzzing in you, and maybe it's a mystery to be delved into by our Godkiller. Um, do you think that people like there are survivors in the vicinity who like witnessed this, or is this like a secret for the Godkiller right now?
I think this is a secret right now because, I mean, once piercing their flesh, their heart, again, I think they, the swarm dissipated in that they dropped dead, but then again, the bugs themselves, the manifestation had pretty much like psh, you know, um, crumbled as soon as they hit the dirt.
Hmm.
And so, I mean, like maybe like people are just like, you know, the ones that didn't experience anything were just like, oh, that was just, you know, some kind of natural um, buzzing of the cicadas or something. And then the people that actually experienced it are just crying out to um, their particular god and saying it's like, you know, why did you plague me or whatever. And but just, I mean, she's she's kind of still in shock about what happened and not going to say anything about what she saw to anyone. I mean, who would
Yeah, of
believe her, right?
course. Do you think you like continue on the road that you had set out for, or do you like return to the cloister now that it seems to be safe again?
I think she looks at that tower and she kind of like just shakes her head and says, well, even more so now. They're not gonna believe anything happened. It was just a rumor. It was just something people said. And even if they did see something happen, like with the swarm, they're gonna chalk it up to pestilence or, you know, most likely pestilence to have taken care of it, which is why it dissipated before it actually got there, before it got to them. So there's no point. I mean, like, you know, now that I'm out, it's kind of like, well, I guess I'll follow Tiresias's, uh, not advice, but just, you know, maybe what he said. I'll see for myself, I guess.
I think that is a good place to cut
Okay.
before we jump into your journey.
Okay.
But before we leave, let's get a quick introduction to our God
Yeah.
Killer, if we have a
Yeah.
name.
Yeah, kinda,
Yeah.
sorry. Kinda, sorta. Um, yeah, so I picked my name as Walang Tao. Um, in in Tagalog or Filipino, it means nobody. So it's kind of fitting. But yeah, like, just call her like Wal. Put she, they, and I put his gender as fluid and average because I think being at the cloister, I mean, like I think it's like kind of like co-ed kind of thing. There's men and women, and then like also some non-binary as well, and just feeling like even more so, not sure of like how she or they fit in. So it's kind of like fluid given a different day. Depends on who she was dealing with, and so therefore they would just be whomever they were at the time. And then flaws. I don't want to say completely cynical, but I also don't want to say completely naive. So I'm not sure like what to say for flaws yet, because uh,
Um, I mean, I think I like the idea of someone who like is cynical in the things that they are expert in, but
mhm.
naive in the things that they are not, right?
Okay,
So
I like that. Cynical in things they naive in things they are not. Love that. Yep, that describes her really well. It's like what? Oh man, that's cool. I'll come up with a picture. I just haven't figured it out yet.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay. I think that is a good first session.
Cool.
Set us on our path to killing more gods.
Yeah, that's
Um,
sounds exciting.
yeah. I'll stop the recording and we'll do our debrief.
Cool.